Yes, good morning. I'm really Jari Suominen, as it was announced. Let's try to get to the beginning of the story as a starting point. Okay, yes, it's good to be here because in my books, the Vaasa area, it's the mecca of the Finnish wind industry and energy industry as a total. And it's good to see so many wind lovers sitting here and friendly faces, and if there is a brave enough lady or man to ask a question, you just try to raise your hand. I'm not sure if I will pick it up, but you can always try. And I will shortly go through about one view of the wind industry in Finland. What may happen? Or in other words, you could say that we are in that road at the moment in my books. Something has started. And all the good things, they start from a very small, and suddenly you find that the world has changed. And that's something that we are looking for in the Wind Power Association here in Finland. Typical is that this picture is taken from Estonia, not in Finland, because we don't really have a lot of you could say, the history of wind industry. But I'm pretty sure that soon we will have pictures from Finland. The Finnish Wind Power Association itself, it has a long history, and it's really been more, you could say, professional little by little in the last few years, and currently there are 130 Finnish and also international companies involved in the business, and a couple of hundred individual persons. And there's a lot to do because we don't have a lot of resources, to be frank, in the association. So this is more like our hobby for most of the people working in this area, and I'm among one of those guys that 24 hours is too short to say, and I'm working in a company called Tuulivatti, and then my hobby is actually the wind on top of that. It may take you all if you start digging in deeper to that one. And there's one sad story in Finland. Our energy balance is very, I would say, embarrassing, to be frank. We are importing 10 billion euros worth of energy from abroad. Almost 80% of that is coming from Russian, and I don't believe that we can actually even afford that one, to pay that bill every day, because that bill is actually increasing very rapidly. Everybody knows what happens to crude prices and so on. And I'm amazed that in a country where we have all the renewable energy sources, you could say not in the world, but compared to the population of Finland, huge country, 5 million people, amazing amount of forests, you have water, you have wind, you can take the energy from earth. And we are still a developing country in my books in the renewable energy, and especially in the wind industry. The good news is that there's a lot to do. With 10 billion euros saving energy bill, you can actually do whatever you want in this country. And my vision is that hopefully it doesn't take too long that we will be taking all the energy from our own sources. Like I said, that we are in an area that has actually, in my books, it's an amazing story that even we are developing country in the wind industry, that we have a strong industry that actually supplying the wind industry itself, and it employs a fair bunch of people, and a lot of that is actually exported. There hasn't really been practically any support from the local business to support that. And I'm really impressed that has been possible. We have a clear targets for the future, and we have clear targets for the wind also. So that's a good starting point. And here you can see that all other, we are among, you could say, the countries like Albania in the wind electricity production, and I can't be proud of that. I can't sleep with that picture. Yeah. And you can see here that even, I'm not sure if there are any Norwegians, but even in Norway they built double what we have in Finland. And that's probably not for the reason that they wouldn't have crude or they wouldn't have water. Yeah, sad story. But the good thing is that there is actually reference to Sweden. Then in a couple of years' time, actually in something like, you could calculate that with that investment race, they actually built the Finnish target in, you could say, 4 or 5 years' time. So there's some hope actually also in Finland. We just need to get to that curve. And in wind industry, or Wind Power Association, we have actually estimated that how this target may be fulfilled. And there you can build a pessimistic, or you could say conservative figures, and those red bars actually show the conservative figures. And I don't see any way that the Finnish 2020 target couldn't be achieved. I can't see anything that could make it. They may try to make it harder, but I can't see a way that it wouldn't be actually achieved. And in best case, actually, the wind could support if there is some problems in some other areas. It may be that this target will be achieved somewhere between already 2017-18. But let's see how it will start and move ahead. And currently, we have only 130 turbines up and running, and Fairpan showed that almost 200 megawatts capacity was built 2010. And the last year was really the bottom of everything, because no new wind turbines were taken into production, and you can't get deeper than that, of course. But you have to start from somewhere. And there are a couple of root cases why that happened. The first is that there was a hassle with the feed-in tariff, and it was actually delayed. The first proposal was illegal and things like that happened, so it was unfortunately delayed, and it was pulled into force roughly 1 year ago. And meanwhile, when we were hassling with the feed-in tariff, actually we managed to start creating the world's tightest administrative procedures into Finland. And that's another sad story, that there are examples that safety distances from roads are 500 meters, for instance, at the moment, and you can't find those type of figures nowhere in the world. The Italians don't have any safety margin, and that of course reflects their way of living. No noise levels, no safety margins. I'm not saying that that's the target, but we have 500 meters, and the next you can find from the world is something like 300 meters. So we made it once again, and it's kind of went wrong from the fact that everybody was asked that, what do you want? Most of the people don't want additional work, and they want zero tolerances, whatever they are asked to do. And the law of feed-in tariff, it's of course giving us a good starting point. It's probably not the perfect system as itself, and we have an increased feed-in tariff, and that's of course one issue, that at the same time that there is a carrot, there is no support from the administrative burdens of the permitting. And there is also some hope that some offshore demonstrations could be done. But at least the rules are clear now. And there's a lot of talking that what is the cost of the feed-in tariff, and it's actually that picture on top tries to kind of show that this is a kind of in my books it's a fairly wise system from that point of view, that it doesn't inflate anything. We say that, okay, we have a feed-in tariff of 83.5 euros per megawatt hours, but the maximum support is actually 53.5 euros per megawatt, because there is a certain kind of a minimum threshold of the electricity price that after that the government doesn't support you anymore. My believing is that there is a talk about that the wind production will cost 200 million euros annually 2020. I think that it's rather near a zero, between 0 to 100 million. And you can actually, to be frank, achieve from every euro that you will spend to wind, you will achieve minimum 6 euros to the economy of Finland. And I don't see any other industry there where you can actually achieve it. And that's an amazing story, actually. It's good. It's too good to be true, to be frank. There's a lot of projects ongoing in Finland. This is one picture. The highest number I've heard is 15,000 megawatts, which has been asked from Fingrid to be connected to the main grid. And the Finland is full of good hope for the wind. And I'm pretty sure that 2,500 megawatts out of that can be built very, very easily. Huge country, huge potential. We've been lucky actually at the same time when there's been a hassle with the startup of the wind industry. And this is trying to show shortly that what has happened in the markets. At the same time that when we have been struggling, the technical development has been very quick. Wider rotor diameters and higher towers. And if I compare the best solution 2009 and the solution that you can see 2013, you actually can gain 50% more electricity out of wind. Of course you can pay a little bit more to achieve 50% improvement from the electricity production point of view. On the other hand, that means also that you can start building the turbines further from the coastline. And that's also very important. We've drawn a vision for the future for the Finland, and in my books this is extremely conservative. With this vision, we won't be the leading European country of the wind industry, but at least we are reasonable citizens in Europe, and in my books, even that's a good start. And as you can see, we believe that the 2020 target is very achievable. 2030, we believe that it can be easily doubled, and by 2050 you can actually build round about 10,000, so that you have a capacity of 10,000 megawatts in Finland. That actually would mean that roughly 20% of the Finnish electricity would be done from the wind. And even those figures, they sound small, but if you take a comparison that 2020 target to make 6% of the electricity from wind in Finland, it means that actually it's the same amount that 50% of the households are consuming in Finland. And 2030 target means that 100% of the electricity consumed in households is produced from the wind. And I believe that when the people who are living in their houses, they want to buy the electricity made from wind and renewable sources, then there is no need to any support anymore. But currently that's not the case. And there's a huge employment potential, huge export value potential. And one of the most important things is that it actually will reduce the import energy bill in dramatic numbers and figures. And at the same time it's creating Finnish works, and that's the most important thing in this game. We need to do more by ourselves, otherwise we are lost in this battle of the globalization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Suominen, for your views on the development of wind power in Finland, and letting us know that we have good prerequisites of being good citizens of Europe in the future. We'd like to thank you for this.
Okay, thank you.
Odotaksä?